I'm going to be sharing the ultimate beginner's guide to the gym, sharing exactly where to start, how to start. I know exactly how overwhelming it can be when you first start out, knowing where do you even begin, how overwhelming it can feel, and just that feeling of like you don't want to look like a complete beginner. I recently found a video from back in 2018 and my first initial reaction was I was cringing at my form. I did not have a clue, and I really remember that moment like it was yesterday, and just how anxious I was. Like one of the first few videos that I'd ever allow like a friend to film me, and I just remember thinking, is this right? Do I look silly? Is everyone looking at me? So I wanted to break down where to start and how to help with that initial gym anxiety when you are just learning and you're starting out. So the first step is to do as many gym inductions and tours as you can in your area or wherever you're going to the gym. Say if you've tried going to the gym before, but if it's like 30, 40 minutes really far from your house, it's just going to create that extra resistance and be hard to maintain. Ideally find one as close as possible to your house or to your work. Do as many gym inductions. So many offer free trials, and something I wish I'd have thought about is going for the induction or trial whenever you would actually train at that time. So just see how busy it is, see what the vibe is. I feel like this is something that's not really mentioned that much, but it's important to find a gym that you actually want to go to, that inspires you and isn't too crazy busy. Although some people love that busier environment, I prefer it a bit quieter, and obviously you can get on machines. A few red flags that are things that I've missed before is, so say the free weights or the squat racks, just have a look where they're positioned, because I recently went to a gym where they have the squat racks and a lot of the machines like right in the middle of the gym. Even now feel uncomfortable going and feeling like I'm sort of squatting on the next man, you know, like right behind me or whoever. So just have a look where the machines are and just see where you'd feel most comfortable. Of course, do a free trial, book in a tour so that someone who works for the gym can take you around. You can just scope things out for yourself. Something that we can often just miss. We'll just join the first gym we see and then avoid it at all costs because it's either too busy or an ex-boyfriend goes there or something along those lines. Next is figure out a time that's best to train for you. Don't worry if you're not a morning person, if it's just not you and your circadian rhythm, you just do not function in the morning until you've had your coffee and until you've come round, then that is okay. Like, don't try and force something that's never been you. I, for one, I'm such a morning person. I don't really like training at any other time in the day. Just this week, I actually tried training at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I had the most awful session, even though the gym was really nice and empty. I'd had 2 meals and there was no reason other than I just don't like training in the middle of the day. I feel like my brain just goes into like work mode. Try and stick to a similar time to train. That way it's going to be easier to maintain. You're going to be able to build some momentum and create it as a habit, which is what we want, and that is the most important thing. If you prefer going after work, or I don't know, some people might prefer it on their lunch break, just figure out a time that suits you. And if you can, you could avoid, say, training at peak times when it's just busy and you can't really get on any machines. But the goal here is playing to your strength. The next thing is what to wear and take to the gym. So starting with your gym fit, I think a good workout always starts with what you're wearing. I made the mistake of just wearing really like scrappy clothes that I didn't really like when I first started out in the gym, because I just thought, oh, I'm just sweating in them and not trying to impress anyone. And that really reflected on how I felt in the gym, like how I felt in myself, nothing to do with other people, but how I felt. You know, when you come undressed or you're not put together, you kind of feel a certain way as well, and it creates an energy. So one of the best things I ever did was actually invest in some comfortable, nice gym wear. It doesn't need to be crazy expensive or anything like that. I just mean wearing things that you actually feel good in and that fit right. Like, I made another mistake of wearing leggings at one point that were just way too tight. So I went for the super seamless, like sculpting everything, you know, like your lungs, everything into a certain position, and then I found it so uncomfortable in the gym. I just feel like stodgy almost and really uncomfortable. I'd take my leggings off and have all these crazy lines everywhere because I'd been sucked in and I felt like I couldn't move properly. So actually having gym clothes that fit, that you feel really good in, will just completely reflect in your actual sessions. Especially when you're starting out, you're already going to be maybe a little bit uncomfortable or anxious because you're doing something new out of routine. So that is a really good place to start. Next is to always remember to bring charged AirPods or headphones. There is nothing nothing worse than getting to the gym and not having charged headphones. It happens to all of us, it happens to me even now, and it's just so frustrating. But picking a really good playlist that hypes you up, or even, you know, them days when you're just not feeling like listening to music and you just want to be in silence. It's like when you're driving sometimes and you've just had enough of any kind of noise, so you turn it off. That is also good. And even just having your headphones when you've not got music on is, I love them days. I've listened to a really good playlist. I'll leave mine linked down below. I have a really good Live and Lift one if you are wanting to have a really intense session. You could also pick a podcast. Having that prepared really helps throughout your workout, and just also helps kind of distract your mind if you're feeling a bit on edge. Whilst we're on clothing as well, I personally like wearing a little bit of makeup. So what I'll do is wear SPF, a little bit of concealer and mascara and like Vaseline or lip liner, and I just feel a little bit more like me. Don't feel like you can't wear makeup. You can do whatever makes you feel your best self where you can. Try not to wear anything too clogging, because when I've worn like thick foundation to the gym, it just ends up in me breaking out. So off the back of that, make sure you've got a good skincare routine. So before I put makeup on, I wash my face in the morning, and then just literally takes me less than 5 minutes to put on my makeup, and then I'll wash my face again and apply makeup for the day. And then hair wise, something that I swear by, which are always on my wrist, are these scrunchies. They're just like a silk scrunchie. Now for working out, I would recommend wearing your hair up as much as you can, just so it doesn't get caught in machines, and when you're sweating, like, it just gets stuck to your back and it's uncomfortable. So I'll always have like a silk scrunchie. Now these are a little bit less pulling on your actual hair than say like the actual band. Like I found when I have the bands in, and like I've always got my hair in like a tight ponytail, I end up just, all my hair's sort of like coming out all the time, and it's not as good for your hair health. So I've noticed a massive difference in having silk scrunchies and just having more of like a looser ponytail or like a bun at the back of my head, and just picking gym hairstyles that are easy to do. I can just throw in within seconds, or if I'm driving, I can throw it up, you know. Next is what trainers to wear to the gym. This is probably the most commonly asked question I get, and it does completely depend on what type of training you're doing. So say if you're going for just literally a cardio session and you're going to be jogging or running, definitely go for a running trainer. So one of my favorite all-time running shoes is the Adidas Ultra Boost. I love these in white, and I've had them for years. I've gone through probably like 3 or 4 pairs, and they're so comfy. It's like running on a cloud. So I'd really recommend them for anything sort of cardio based, like any machines, going on a run in itself. Then if you're lifting weights, you really want a flatter shoe so that you've got more grip and your ankles are more stable, because if you're like training in a really thick, like a running shoe, it's much harder to balance than it is with a flat shoe that stays firm on the ground. And sometimes if you're using like a squat rack, the floor can be super slippery. For actual lifting shoes, my favorites are the Nike Metcons. They're quite hard to get in stock in like white or lighter colors, I do find, but they last so like amazingly well. Converse are also really great, but I do think if you've got a wider foot, it's quite hard, because sometimes Converse can be narrow, so they're a little bit uncomfortable. So your foot's sort of like not being able to grip properly because it's in like a narrower shoe. So that does depend on your foot. And then I do find anything that is like a high, is it high rise? What do you call them? Can't think of the word. Anything sort of like more on a higher top is just so faffy. Like I don't have the patience to be putting on Nike blazers every day. They're so annoying, because I like to have the laces properly done up as well. So yeah, that is why I opt for barefoot or Nike Metcons if I'm lifting, or just any flat comfortable shoe. You know, like Vans are really great as well. They tend to be wider. Of course you want to bring a sweat towel with you. Usually a lot of gyms provide those, but this is just nice that if you've just got freshly washed hair, the last thing you want to do is put your head on like a sweaty machine that someone's been on before. So I always like to just bring a towel with me, and then I can just wipe down any machines that I need. I think it's just nice gym etiquette as well. Next really important thing is remember to warm up and activate before you do any sort of workout. This can be a really easy mistake, especially when you're feeling anxious. You're going into the gym and you don't want to look like a complete gym newbie or beginner. The first thing you do is like, right, I'll just go lift up some weights, get going. No, honestly, we need to make sure we always warm up to begin with. You really don't want to injure yourself. Like there's nothing worse than jumping into a workout, getting a really bad cramp and, you know, pulling something, and then you've got to walk straight out the gym and you're just thinking, why did I do that? I also think your warm-up time is a really good time to just suss out the gym, see what the vibe is, you know, in the actual gym that day, and you can plan out what machines you're going to do, like as in you can look through your workout plan of the day and then see what is free or what you can start with, which is often really common if things are taken in a morning and it's busy. Then where to even start as a gym beginner. So first thing and most important is to have a plan, because without a plan it's like throwing paint at a wall and expecting it to stick. It's going to be really difficult to build any sort of consistency, and also that gym anxiety is just going to be super heightened if you're just going into the gym and just free throwing whatever comes up or whatever machine is available, and it's just a bit unsatisfying because you're just kind of going into the gym, pushing a few things, you feel like, oh, am I going to progress anywhere? So I'd really recommend following some sort of structured plan just to start with, to begin with, and you can build yourself up from there. So let's talk gym equipment. So in the gyms there's generally three sort of areas. So you've got your cardio area, which has got your machines like your Stairmaster, your treadmill, cross trainer, row machine, all this kind of thing. And then you've got your free weights and resistance area, which is of course your barbells, dumbbells, and then all the machines. You've usually got your squat racks there, and then there's usually like an area that a lot of people do HIIT or classes in, like a separate sort of smaller area generally, but obviously some gyms will be different. And then if you're completely new to lifting training, or it's been a few years since you've lifted a weight, 100% always start with body weight training first. You want to get really comfortable with the form of a movement, so things like body weight squats, press-ups, you want to just get comfortable with that sort of movement and motion and feel comfortable. And I'd really recommend doing this in a mirror. That is one of the best ways. You could even start at home or in the gym, like in a quieter area, just so you know you feel comfortable. And once you're comfortable with the body weight, you want to start with light weight. So start with the lightest weights in the gym, and just remember and always have in mind that even the most experienced lifters, bodybuilders, power lifters always start with the actual, like the bar weight. So say if it's a barbell, like people will always warm up with that, so don't worry about being the only person lifting really light weights. And you know, people get injured over the years and build back up from the low weight. Don't sort of think, oh, just because I'm lifting light I look like I don't know what I'm doing. That's not the case at all. And a lot of that as well is just things and scenarios we create in our minds that don't exist, and people are so invested into what's going on in their lives. Every single person has been a beginner from one point. So then when you are lifting light weights, don't be afraid to ask for help in the gym, especially if there's any personal trainers walking about. Like, a lot of them will be so flattered if you did ask for their help, and they're happy to help. If something does feel uncomfortable, even if there's like someone that you've seen in the gym a few times, just say, oh, does this look right to you? And you can learn so much from that way. Like, I think it's really powerful to learn from other people, and it's also a nice way just to create that friendly vibe in the gym itself. I know I'm always happy to help. Like, if I'm ever in the gym, if someone's struggling with something, I would be more than happy to help. Next is gym etiquette. We'll just talk through a few of these. So something I'll never forget this day. Oh my God, I just wanted the ground to swallow me up. So someone hadn't unloaded their weights, and I'm talking, they must have had like 60 kg on either side, and little me, who hadn't been training in the gym that much, took off the weight plates, and I kid you not, I took off one side and the whole bar just flung over, and there was a woman doing deadlifts and it missed her by like this much. I've never ever, it was the scariest thing, but also just the biggest reminder to always re-rack your weights, because someone who's not, like less experienced, if you're there lifting heavy or if someone else has lifted heavy, it's so important to put your weights back. I'd never experienced putting that amount of weight, and off the back of that, remember to always like take them off gradually on either side. And if there's a lot of weight on both sides of something, just ask someone to give you a hand, because it's just not worth risking something like that. I never want to relive that memory actually ever again after mentioning that on here. So yeah, so if you've ever got any weights back, just put them, re-rack them, and keep things like nice and tidy in the gym wherever you go. And when you are lifting weights, don't throw them or slam them down massively. Obviously sometimes it's hard not to, if something's super heavy, that's understandable, but just so you don't damage anything. So yeah. And then I thought I'd go through a general beginner's gym workout that you could try. So you want to start with a warm-up. So this is 5 to 10 minutes on, say, a treadmill, just getting your heart rate up, doing either a brisk walk or a really light jog, just getting your blood flowing and yourself prepped for a workout, and also adding in a few dynamic stretches, just preparing your body and putting your joints through a good range of motion so that you are ready to go. And this is going to really prevent any injuries and niggles from happening. And with resistance training, if you are a complete beginner, I'd recommend starting with about 3 workouts a week, or even 2, and say one day you do like an active walk. Start really small and build up gradually. That way you're going to actually be able to stick to it, rather than overfacing yourself and not enjoying something and then just feeling like you've given up on yourself. So an example of a full body workout split, if you're doing 3 days a week, including 3 sets of 10 reps per movement and at least 60 seconds rest between each set that you do, you want to pick a comfortable but challenging weight, nothing that you could just rep and rep and rep and you're not feeling any sort of resistance. So the end few reps should be relatively heavy. Example of a full body workout split would be seated leg press, 3 sets of 10 reps, seated shoulder press, 3 sets of 10 reps, a close grip. So I could also do another video on different grips. Close grip lat pull down, 3 sets of 10 reps, body weight lunges, 3 sets of 10 reps. You could also add some weights depending on how you're feeling. Full or kneeling press up, 3 sets of 10 reps, and then you could add a plank in there, just a body weight plank, and some leg raises. So that is just an example of a program. You could also book in with a personal trainer if that's something that's accessible to you, like if you join a new gym, say, or follow a program. I have released my beginner's 8-week guide on my fitness app, Live and Lift. I will leave a link to that down below, and you can also try that for 7 days completely free. I've also got loads of recipes on there. I really hope this was a useful guide to the gym. I hope these tips have been helpful, and also just break down some of that gym anxiety. You will definitely have much better workouts following these steps and feeling a little bit more like confident to step foot in the gym. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I could also do a video going through things like actually during your workouts, so different grips and more nutrition side. Just let me know if you would like to see that in the comments down below. And if you aren't already, I'd love to stick around by subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.